Ray Romano, you co-star in The Big Sick as Terry, who starts to bond with the ex-boyfriend of his daughter while his daughter is suffering a medical emergency. First off, how did you become involved in this film?
I got the script. My agent sent me a script. He said, "Oh, I have this script, Kumail Nanjiani," and I said, "Who?" I had never heard of him, and I should have, but I'm older and out of the loop, and home, and and my kids, I have kids who are hip and with it. From Kumail Nanjiani, they said, "Oh, Dad, you got to do it first." I go, no, just do it. What else do you have? Seriously, what else do you have? And it was unique. It was it had a whole different rhythm to it than a traditional, I guess, if you want to call it that. And I met with Judd Apatow and the director, and then they told me also that Holly Hunter was on board to play the wife. And it became like an easy decision for me. But there was a split second when I first got it and I heard, a comedian's writing a script and this and that. A split second where I was like, I don't have to do this if I don't. And I just think now, can you imagine if I turn this down? Because the attention it's getting and what it turned out to be, when I looked at it with the people involved and everything, I thought this has a chance to be something really special. Yeah.
And what struck you about your character in particular, Terry, when you read the script that you thought was compelling or that you especially wanted to play?
Well, I have a daughter who's probably the same age as Emily was. It was very easy to feel what he was going through. And there was comedy there to be had, but there was also some real emotion and some real angst, and that's what I'm all about now. I'm all about the angst. Yeah, I thought, and I knew we were going to be able to kind of explore it a little more. I got to write a little backstory for him, and I got to write and create how he got together with Holly. And I gave it to the director, and he liked it, and he incorporated it into the script a little bit. So I just felt this has the chance to be something pretty rich, and especially working with Holly Hunter, yeah.
And working with Holly Hunter, you mentioned creating this backstory for your characters, and you are creating this on screen, this relationship. By the time we meet you, you've had like the characters decades together. What was it like developing that rapport as actors on screen together?
Well, it's funny, is we had never met until the table read. And yeah, when you pair Holly Hunter, Ray Romano, that seems like an odd thing. And I invented my own little backstory to how this odd pairing could happen. I never told her about it. She, I didn't want to impose my ideas on her unless she wanted it. And we just had this rapport, and she plays everything so real, and I tried to do it as real as possible. And it was just kind of serendipitous, to use the biggest word I know, that it gelled, it worked together. And if it ever didn't, if we were ever in a scene and something didn't feel right, she was very collaborative. As great an actor as she is, and as intense, that doesn't, normally you think of those people as maybe being a little standoffish and uncollaborative. It was just the opposite. She was very warm and welcoming and made me feel comfortable. And thank God, because I was scared of her in the beginning.
The film is also unique in that it's starring Kumail Nanjiani in a script that he co-wrote, of course, and it's about his actual life experiences with his wife that they went through. What was it like working with the actors, and the writers that who lived this experience, and what did that bring to the experience of acting it out?
Well, you want to make sure you do it you do it, it puts a little pressure on you. But one thing that was good was Emily, his wife, told us, because we were playing her parents, that she was leaving it open to us. It wasn't like we were playing a historical figure and had to get all the facts right and the nuances right. This was, when she didn't know how they were going to cast it, and when they cast Holly, they figured it one way, and then they cast me, they wrote it a different way. So I never really met the parents. I did find out one thing, though, when Emily's mother watched a rough copy of the film. After she was done, she told Holly, your Holly is prettier than me, but your father's much handsomer than Ray Romano. So I knew that about him. So that's what I did. I figured that however he would play it, I just did it as if he was ugly. But yeah, it was fun. But it was also great to be around Kumail and just ask him, did this really happen? Or because a lot of it I read the script first and I was like, well, how could that happen? Would the doctor do that? Would the doctor? And 9 out of 10 times, yes, that's exactly how it went down. But it ended up being a great experience, And they were also open to, even though it's true, it's still, you have to let go of everything, and for the sake of the movie, some things don't have to be exactly how it went down. So it was a very open atmosphere towards all of that.
And you're also developing this relationship on screen between Terry and his daughter and this family unit, even though for the most part, for most of the film, she's already in that coma by the time we meet her parents. What was that challenging to kind of generate that relationship that we don't get to see really on screen for a while?
The relationship between us and who and
Emily.
Well, I think the challenging thing was for the audience, because you're right. You see Emily for the first, maybe third of the film, and then you don't see her. And the challenging thing was for the audience to be that invested in her and that relationship when she's gone for the next 40 minutes of the film, and for them to be that invested in her, to know that when the parents come, how tortured they are about this. That was the challenging part of the film, and thank God Zoe Kazan is that great, and the writing was that great, that because the film doesn't work if you don't care about that relationship, or if you don't care about that person, or if you don't feel what the parents are feeling. So that was the most important part, and thank God they got it right. And then you can allow yourself to go in a different direction and explore the relationship between the parents and Kumail. Now it's about the parents and Kumail for the next 40 minutes. That was what's unique about the movie also, is these different relationships it explores, and people are invested in all of it.
And the film has such a unique kind of balancing act in terms of its tone. It's about this very serious illness and this life and death situation, but it is also very funny. And you yourself have experience in comedy, in dramatic roles. Did that help, you as an actor in this situation, having that experience to kind of walk that line in this film?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, we didn't do a lot of that on Everybody Loves Raymond. Well, Everybody Loves Raymond would have, a little pinch of poignancy and heart, but barely. If you blinked, it was gone. But it was there. It was there, and I was happy that we had those moments. And then when I did Men of a Certain Age, I explored that more, and everything up to that also. But I approached it the same way, and that's just playing it real. So the comedy, The Big Sick has a lot of comedy in it, but not sacrificing the tone. The tone had to be real and grounded, and that's kind of the stuff that I do. Yes, there are broad comedies that are joke driven and everything. And I'm not against doing that or being in that, but what appeals to me is this kind of movie that's humorous, but it's human, and it's all grounded and believable. So that's kind of what feels organic to me. So it felt very comfortable in this movie, and I was happy that they weren't going for bigger or broader things, because it could have been. There are a couple scenes where things could have gotten a little too jokey, and they were on the same page. That's one of the great things is in a movie, anything can happen. They could be here and you could be over here, but everything fell into place, and here we are.
And this year, you also have another major showcase role. You've been in Get Shorty this season, based on the Elmore Leonard novel, where you play a down on his luck producer who gets involved with the mob. How did you become involved in that series? And see, that seems even more like a change of pace.
Before I answer, I want you to be honest with me. Have you seen it?
No. I've seen a little of it.
It's hard to see because it's on Epix and nobody gets Epix yet. But it's very good, actually, so you should see it. I got involved with that because Alan Coulter was the director of the pilot episode in Get Shorty, and he was the executive producer director on Vinyl, on the show Vinyl. So I got introduced to him on Vinyl, and he just called when Vinyl got canceled. A couple of months later, he told me he was involved with this Get Shorty, and he sent me the script, and he told me the people involved, and it's something really unique. It has this Coen Brothers-esque tone to it, but it's also dangerous. It involves mobsters who are funny but dangerous, which is such a thin line to walk there, where it becomes too silly and you don't. There's no stakes, and they do it just right. And we're doing season 2. We start filming in February, and I hope people get around to seeing it because there's a lot of good work in there. Not from me. Chris O'Dowd is in there, and Sean Bridges in it. It's really a pretty unique show.
And were you familiar with the original novel before you took on this project or Elmore Leonard's other work?
If you're trying to embarrass me because I don't read, your mission accomplished. Actually, I read, what was the book that Christy, the book your husband gave me that I read by Elmore Leonard? Okay, but I have read an Elmore Leonard, and I do read, and I know the capital of every country. Name any capital, name any country, I'll tell you the capital.
Latvia.
Go ahead. Riga. Do you know the answer?
I did, yeah. I picked one that sounded hard, but I actually knew.
Yes, Riga. But anyway, no. But of course I know Get Shorty from the movie. And one thing I will say, the movie has one certain tone, the book has another tone, and this Get Shorty, the TV show, has its own tone, and it's a little blend of both. But it's a little more dirty and grittier than the movie was, and it's kind of based on the movie, but there's different characters. But it's the same concept of the two worlds, the gangster world and the movie world kind of colliding together. So I recommend it.
Well, it's a relatively new network, in terms of exposure, but we are in that age where relatively new networks get that exposure really fast. We just saw Hulu explode at the Emmys, and so certainly Epix is has the potential to be on its way up just like that. And congratulations.
Sure, they're gonna, I love being on that network because they are backing the production, and they're really putting a lot of time and money into it. So I'm sure people will come around to see it. And I'm not trying to trash Epix. I just wish DirecTV would get it so I could watch it in my own house.
Well, I want to congratulate you on Get Shorty and The Big Sick, and season 2 Get Shorty coming up next year as well. And thank you so much for talking to me today.
All right, say hello to everybody over there.
I absolutely will.
All right, thank you. Take care.